I'm only 2 years into jiu-jitsu and I won a juvenile absolute division. Here's how I did it. My first match is in my weight division against a green belt. I hit an arm drag on my opponent and I circle to his back. I immediately sink my hooks in and shoot the rear naked choke. I get the tap and then I go to the finals of my weight division. My next opponent is a blue belt, and he's also number 2 ranked in Maine for wrestling. He starts to feint some really low single legs, and then I tie up with him. I try to go really heavy on his head, and he slides me by and tries to take my back. He's able to get one hook in, and I stand up. He starts to shuck me down and I try to Granby roll, but he ends up getting both of his hooks in. So I turn into him and he gets side control. I immediately turn onto my side and lock up a buggy choke, which I sit in for an atrociously long time. Eventually he starts to fall to his back, so I try getting up and he ends up knocking me right back to my butt, so I re-guard. My opponent's nose starts to bleed, so we have to pause the match. We reset in the middle, and then I immediately try to control his posture. I dig an underhook while his posture's controlled, and I try to go for a shoulder crunch sweep, but I haven't practiced it enough, so he's able to limp arm through. Later into the match, I frame on his bicep, and I shoot a triangle. As soon as I lock it up, my opponent aggressively tries shucking me off to escape. My opponent starts to turn with me and I try going for an armbar. Normally I try cutting an angle, but at this point it feels like if I cut an angle he'll be able to escape. I think I'm going to get the triangle armbar here, but he has just enough grip to keep him safe. Then I cinch down on my legs and start pulling on his head. He tries putting his weight over me, but eventually I get the tap.
Yes.
I just got a gold medal for my weight class, now it's time for my first match of the Absolute. My opponent won in his weight class, so I'm expecting a really good match. My opponent attempts a beautiful duck under and we play ring around the rosy until he takes me down. But I'm able to turn into him so he gets close guard. We're on the very edge of the mat, so we reset in the center. I immediately try posturing up, and my opponent keeps underhooking my leg. My opponent keeps doing a really good job of keeping me from standing up. My opponent keeps underhooking my leg, and I feel that he wants to go into an ankle lock entry. My opponent underhooks my leg, and then he tries to shoot into an ashy. But I'm able to put my weight down, stop the entanglement, and get to a chest flat half guard. I grab my underhook and crossface to maintain control, and I try to go into high tripod passing. My opponent's able to get back to a close guard. I'm able to regain my posture just as points take effect. I stand up and my opponent goes onto an ankle lock entry. This time he's successful in sweeping me and getting onto a leg. I try to build height to escape the ankle lock and he sweeps me into an outside ashy. I start trying to fight his grip and then I turn away from him so he can't go belly down. I start to build back height. My opponent attempts to sweep me again, but I'm able to maintain my balance. There's less than a minute of the match, and I need to score now. I push away from his legs, escaping the entanglement, and I eventually pass to a side control, securing 3 points. My leg is trapped in an awkward position, but eventually I'm able to backstep out of it and secure my pass. My opponent tries swinging away from me to escape, but I just catch a north-south. There's only about 5 seconds left of the match, so instead of risking him scoring, I just stand back up and win. I win my first match in Absolute, and I go to semifinals. This is my second match in the Absolute, also the semifinals, against a blue belt. We hand fight for a bit, and eventually my opponents get double unders and starts going into a body fold takedown. My opponent successfully takes me down, but there's no points, so he doesn't score. I'm able to get to a proper closed guard. My opponent locks his hands behind my back and proceeds to do almost nothing the entire match. Eventually I get frustrated and tell the ref that he's stalling, and he just starts chuckling. Then I see that his arm's stuck out a little wide, so I start to go on a Kimura grip. Instead of defending the Kimura, my opponent decides to stick his tongue out. I don't know why he did this, but he almost broke his shoulder in the process. I use the Kimura to sweep him to mount, and then I get my 4 points for a clean sweep. He starts to try to buck me off of him, but I'm already maintaining pretty good control of his upper body, which makes it really hard to escape. My opponent tries to escape out from underneath me, but it doesn't work. He got very close trying to escape here, but I'm able to maintain my posture, and then I win the match up on points. Now I'm on to my final match of the day, the Absolute Finals. My opponent is a blue belt who is very, very talented. The second I tied up with him, I knew this match was definitely going to be close. He was very heavy on the head, and I could tell he had a very versatile game. My opponent hits a level change, and I tried pushing him while he's getting up to off-balance him. He latches onto a front headlock, and I somehow roll out of it. Points are now in effect, so I try double-legging him, and I get thrown off balance and almost pushed out of bounds. My opponent tries a snatch single, and then I try to chain into my own double leg, and he stuffs it. As the match starts to come to a close, I feel my opponent get more aggressive. My opponent tries to latch onto another front headlock, and I deny it. With less than 30 seconds in the match, I attempt a Hail Mary. I break connection, and I try a duck under to the back. I'm able to connect the seatbelt, and I try to get one of my hooks in. My opponent keeps turning, making it very, very difficult to get my hooks in. And eventually the ref calls the end of the match. Since there was no score, it's up to the judges, where I'm ruled the winner. I wanted to thank my friends and family that have always supported me, along with my teammates and coaches. I'll be posting my full matches out on my YouTube soon. Until then, I hope you enjoyed the video, and please subscribe.